Hello everyone and welcome. First of all, I would like to wish absolutely everyone a very happy, blessed and magical Christmas or however you call your winter celebration. Usually the winter celebration is common theme for everyone. We invite the light into our lives because at least in my hemisphere it's winter, so we do need the light of the sun to promise us the spring. And we're also, just past the Capricorn solstice, so it's really important, a moment of preparation for all of us. And it is this time of the year when we do invite and also weave the light. And the light also represents information, the wishes, expressing our feelings, saying really nice and heartfelt, not just nice, words, gestures, wishes to all of our loved ones and including the divine as well. And all of this matters so very much. And also I would like to thank absolutely everyone for all your kindness, all your support, all your generosity, and for your magical and amazing Christmas wishes. As I said again, the power of information, the word, the light which carries it, it really made my Christmas that much more magical. So after this being said, let's get to the horoscope for next week. So basically the week of 26th December, but I am going to be excluding Sunday, so this horoscope is just for the 26th until 31st December. And also it is going to be a rather short one because I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. This flu or whatever it is caught up with me. But astrologically speaking, this is actually a week of preparation because we have Jupiter freshly entered into the sign of Aries. And when I say freshly entered, after its retrograde, I mean, so it's still on its shadow path. And of course, this is absolutely amazing for everything that is fresh and new and that we want to initiate. But before that becomes the greater theme, so in Aries season, because the sun will ultimately have to, illuminate everything that Jupiter is setting up in the sign of Aries. And Jupiter ultimately is the energy of faith, of philosophy, of higher thinking and feeling and just knowing and being connected to the source, even outside rationality. So Jupiter doesn't necessarily need the mind, it just needs, as I said, the light of the consciousness, the sun. So, according to my opinion, it is more Aries season, the coming Aries season, and of course the new astrological year, that is going to be the launching moment for everything that is fresh and new. Right now, the fresh and new is being stirred up from within. It's almost like we're being prepared to ultimately take action, fight, and perhaps the most important theme, because this will mark Jupiter's whole transit in the sign of Aries, to embody our sovereignty in any way, shape, and form, because Jupiter in Aries needs that for us to take ownership of our existence, our journey, our path, our desires, and what it is that we need and must to, accomplish for the self, for others, for the divine, for everyone. Everything really is included because Aries is driven also by instinct. It is the daytime home of Mars after all, so it is highly instinctual, it is the willpower. But we must not forget that Jupiter already dipped into the sign of Aries, May this year. So now going back on its path, it is wrapping things up. And for many of us, that final wrap up is exactly what I said. What sovereignty means for all of us. And this period, especially this week, this is where Jupiter needs a lot of finalities for that, completions or abandonment also, where we abandon the old hurt, the wound, the trauma, the doom and gloom, pessimism, whatever. not so long ago it finished its job for the next 12 years in the sign of Pisces, and that represented the finalities, the endings, the completion, and until here, what regardless of what it is, old karma, old feelings, old whatever, until here. So yeah. And this is also very important because in 2023 Saturn is moving into Pisces, and it's really, really gonna work on whatever Jupiter set up there, quite physically even. But before Saturn Pisces season, when the Sun enters into the sign of Pisces, that will also be immediately now a moment of great completion of whatever Jupiter set up in its home sign of Pisces after all. But in Aries, as I said, as soon as we achieve that state of sovereignty, things will start going very, very quickly, intensely, dynamically. It will feel like an adventure or a fight or, a period when we truly have to do big things, and also fate, life, etc. requires bigger things from us. Not necessarily materially or in a very physical sense, although for some people that is very included. It really just wants us to initiate in thought, in feeling, in philosophy, in faith, in whatever we can. As long as we initiate, as long as we put something on the table, Jupiter, the divine, can very well start working with it. So, but again, one of the Aries specifics, and Jupiter when in it, you really, really need to hold the faith, the thought, the aspiration, the desire, or the cry out for justice. Yes, absolutely, Jupiter in Aries is also about fight, cry out, demand for justice, any way, shape, and form. It can also be a very militaristic energy. And it's also on the world stage, because 0 degrees of Aries. Okay, 1 degree by now. By the end of the week, sorry. But we're still sovereignty. It has to be what we want to make it. So if we want necessarily conflict, needless to say, it's there. So we're just gonna expand it. But would our sovereignty demand resolution, peace, equilibrium, whatever, then reality has no choice but to also give way to this. But this is more collectively what we can actually do energetically if there isn't time of peace. If peace is becoming more of a distant memory, we do have power. And many times all we have is just Jupiter, the communication of our spirit with source, really. So that matters very, very much. But later about these metaphysical or philosophical parts of this energy in next year's horoscope, because there will be a lot said about this Jupiter and Saturn and the specifics of this energy. So this week, of course, just is a highlight, a hint of this. When we do feel what is very, very important for us, what we need to accomplish, or what we are lacking, because if we are lacking it, that means we are going to invest that much more strength or Aries type of energies, inner energies, into accomplishing or achieving, etc. But as I said, this week is just more of a feeling, more of a, how should I say, a state. But there are other energies in the sky which are much more personal and direct, where Venus meets especially at the end of the week and going into next year, of course, Pluto. And that is really, really important because Pluto is wrapping up its final work in the final degrees of Capricorn, where next year it's going to be dipping into Aquarius and then briefly going back into Capricorn, and this will be extremely important, very, very, very important and life-changing for us both individually and collectively. But before it gets to this, Venus also prepares us financially, value-wise, value system-wise, what our priorities are from within and without. Because this cocktail, Mercury is also in the zone. Mercury is also conjunct to both Pluto and Venus. Not as tightly as Venus, but let's say Mercury and Pluto are sandwiching Venus between them. So, mind, heart, and Pluto, the raw, stark, honest truth of the integrity of your being, especially the lower parts, who demand respect as well. As long as we're here on Earth, we need our lower parts. We need perhaps not the lower ego in a Taurian way, because yes, it is Taurus who, with alcohol in it, with Sedna in it, who are houses of the lower ego, and it is Sedna, for example, who knows so beautifully how to get rid of it. So, exactly. So, not necessarily the lower ego, but everything else is very much included, you know? So yes, it is really, really important for us to process reality from this united state where the mind joins the heart, and the heart, in this sense, our value system, everything emotionally, materially, in any way, shape, and form, quite physically as well, Capricorn, that we truly value and our souls appeals to it. Venus, the magnetism, that which we like to have, experience, etc., etc. Mercury, the mind, processing it, and then Pluto, the power. And this is really, really important this week because it kind of foreshadows what Pluto is going to be doing in these final stages of Capricorn, how it might impact us financially, work-wise, as in HR, work legislation, quite internationally speaking, but also immediately in our local communities and our cultures right now. What people sacrifice for money and what is not going to be part of the future, as in our work hours, how you manage work, how a professional even perceives for the future, and the future is just here, Pluto dipping into Aquarius, that's the future, their own reward system, what is worth it to them, where is passion in their work, and how much, because ultimately Pluto is passionate, quite obsessively, more intensely than Mars, so yeah. So all of these are gonna be within our thoughts and hearts this week. And this can be very, very important for many people when an irresistible Mercury in Cap contract appears, attraction, love story, something that just attracts you and it is almost irresistible. And Pluto, it does feel somewhat fated. And there is, at the end of the week, a quincunx between the Sun and Mars in the sign of Gemini, still retrograde, of course. We have to really, really put our minds and mindsets, Mars and Gemini, which also includes our relationship, who we communicate with, our sphere of friends or acquaintances, the other Gemini. So this is also included, to figure out how to, Sun in Capricorn, achieve something, do something, have something, change, Capricorn, work with it, hold the structure, or do something to the structure. So there is both help, inspiration, know-how, whatever you want with Mars retrograde in Gemini, in the air in reality, as long as we know how to seek for it. And also this Mars in Gemini needs us to be brave with our words and expressing our needs. And also this energy can be quite surprising as well, because Pluto, again, fated. Sometimes fate comes and greets us with things that we could not see coming. Sometimes it's quite favorable, sometimes it's quite, positive. Of course, depends what we really do with it. And another energy in the sky which is also very important, Neptune is conjunct Juno, so the wife of Jupiter, commitment. And Neptune and Pisces, soul contracts, soul connections, even soul tribes that perhaps the spirit has woven together. But this is where there's a moment of decision, because the spirit does not work with the down-to-earth human self. And when the human self, Jupiter in the sign of Aries, needs to say its preference, well then that is when spirit has to respect. So where I'm going with this is karmic relationships, karmic contracts, even deep family dynamics are starting to transform based on what your down-to-earth, very human, very instinctual needs and reality is. If that, kind of makes sense. And another energy which I would like to speak about, which can be quite intense, is Black Moon Lilith at an erratic degree of Cancer. So yeah, emotionally it's really, really, really heavy in any way, shape and form, because it can be, hurts, toxicity, bottled up feelings, secrets that eat us up from within, complicated things, shameful things, things which we would like to hide from everyone. But this can also represent attractions when we give into attractions. Now, this isn't either positive or negative. We shouldn't be looking this in a polarized way. Just that Black Moon Lilith in an erratic degree will show all of us through our own specifics just how determining emotions and emotional states are and always have been in our reality, both collectively and individually. Collectively, let me give you an example. Cancer and Lilith within it, ethnicity, borders, my territory, your territory. What nations are we truly? And we can see this play out on the world stage so clearly that, for example, Ukraine and Russia, but they're both Slavic, they're both Orthodox, and still Black Moon Lilith. If we imagine borders, then the imagination is more real than what's real, if you know what I mean. And it's based on feelings, really. It's based on purely feelings, purely. And Cancer, Black Moon Lilith and Cancer. What was and how we feel about it, and that's all. That's it, really. There is no other true difference between, people belonging to the same, even genetic or how, I don't even know how to express what I want to say, but I think you kind of get it. It's just imagination, isn't it? So Black Moon Lilith is going to show us how powerful emotions and truly cooked up emotions are. Why not? This can, of course, have a very positive expression to us because she opposes Pluto still. 2-degree difference, but it's still an ongoing opposition. It can be, forgiveness. How powerful forgiveness truly is. How powerful crisis situations are. When there is a massive crisis situation, there and then hard feelings and emotions are put aside for the common good. That can also be a very beautiful example of how this energy can work favorably. But of course there are kind of negative expressions as well when toxicity just doesn't wanna go away and it's the same old, and like it or not, it's gonna be part of the future because if certain people invite it into it, of course it's gonna be there. But let's speak about attractions. Black Moon Lilith in the sign of Cancer opposing this Pluto. Some attractions are sometimes healing and empowering, especially the deepest and darkest or most shameful expressions. How should I explain this? When a person lives it or gets close to living it at least once, that's where that can feel like a completion and to eliminate the whole thing from the being. The curiosity or whatever was satisfied, so you can close this door. Now, most people will not do this, of course, but that's how it should be. Because when something like, for example, an unusual sexual fetish, or there is this very, very loyal partnership, marriage, or whatever, and there comes just one moment when there's a small infidelity. Now, the good expression of this energy, it happened, curiosity satisfied, put it on the shelf, bye, let's live life. It's done, good riddance. The bad expression of this energy, I like it and I want to make this part of my life one way or another. The first expression of this energy, Pluto and Lilith actually come to heal something, to eliminate something, as in to show the person, look, this isn't a big deal, this is just a result of your inner alchemy, basically. That's why the imagination or the fantasy or whatever kept haunting you. Leave it and close it, bye. But, if it gets powerful enough to absorb you into it, then it will act the opposite way. So yeah, this is how I see this energetic Black Moon Lilith. And also this may have certain medical, or let's say physiognomical effects as well, like urinary infections or water, anything Cancerian water in your body being stirred up, or an infection or an imbalance or this and that, moments. It can also be like moments of tear or a small moment of melancholy for no real reason, just hormonally. And, this can kind of play a little bit with our moods. So I do imagine that for some it could be a bit tearful Christmas, but not necessarily in a bad sense. We're just emotionally very vulnerable a little bit right now because of this Black Moon Lilith and Pluto opposition. And I'm not really sure what else to mention that is gonna be really important this week, because even astrologically it is the new everything that happens after the new year that will get more and more important, more and more intense. So yeah. And also what it needs to be said is that this week is also when Mercury goes retrograde, and this can add a little bit of intensity to the energy. Now, Mercury retrograde in the sign of Capricorn is more about a practical disruption. Yes, it is physical. Yes, it is earthly. But especially in my very subjective opinion, Mercury retrograde in the sign of Capricorn is like the second opinion, is like the finishing touches, it is like the work done, yes, but there comes something, someone, or a need or whatever, when we upgrade even the work done, and it becomes even that much more important, even that much more significant, or when, as I said, work done, but in the spur of the moment, something even better and newer just pops up, and you just say to yourself, well, I'm definitely going to be including this, even if I have to redo a part of the work, even if it's work done, contractually, negotiation-wise, especially when it's your time, your schedule, your Capricornian elements. How does it affect your life structurally, schedule-wise, routine-wise? These are all going to be parts of Mercury retrograde. Now, of course, yes, the disruption, the disruptive parts, redo, rethink, uh, appointments are not gonna go well, massive transport disruptions, I would imagine, because Capricorn is very, very practical, and one of the ruling signs of Mercury, sorry, is Gemini, where Mars retrograde is in there. So, transport either because of information system, internet, electronics, or because of Mercury and retrograde in Capricorn. Strikes, workforce shortages, or stuff like that is gonna be quite a problem. So, be prepared for that. And also, this Mercury retrograde is also good to manage certain things in life, like a personal project that must be done. So, like renewing your house or putting a new heating system in your. This is, for example, a physical example, Mars heating, um, or a contract, or a bank relation, or something that you truly need to stabilize or refine or make it what you need it to be. This Mercury retrograde, even slowly but surely, will actually get you there. So embody the wisdom of it. And also, there might be disruptions at the internet, communication devices, and relations with authorities, relations with official institutions, etc., might suffer delays or miscommunication. But as I said, this isn't really the worst kind of Mercury retrograde, really, because this is very much needed, even if the inconvenience and the confusion and the misunderstanding, especially professionally or materially speaking, is definitely going to be there, and transport and schedules and travel is not going to be very, very easy. And let me just look at. So yes, Mercury retrograde starts around the 28th of December, and I am just. And the 18th of January, 19th, 18th of January, when it starts going direct. So this window of time is gonna be one of, as I said, meticulous work, meticulous decisions, meticulous thinking, problem solving, and in any way, shape, and form. And this meticulosity, if we meet it and greet it with our own initiative to truly do it up to our very, very best, capabilities and standards, then we make it that much easier for ourselves because we just cooperate with the energy. But of course, if we resist and we want to be rather masters of our time and not cooperate with whatever Mercury is suggesting us that would be a better timing or better whatever, then we might get the more blockage part of this energy. But as I said, if we use this truly constructively, and also, when Mercury goes back on its shadow path, it will meet Pluto. And that, to me, will be the wrap-up, the true wrap-up of this Mercury retrograde season. But as I said, the hardest part here is that Mercury is retrograde along with Mars being retrograde in its own sign, but Mars will go direct. So this energy is very, very short term. And as I said, as disruptive as this can be, there's a lot of good sides to this as well. And it is definitely problem solving. So this would conclude this horoscope. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being with me all throughout the year. I'm wishing you again a very, very happy and blessed Christmas, or however you celebrate the winter season, the winter holidays. And with this being said, I guess we'll see each other next year with the next year's horoscopes and, special material for the next year, because it is going to be very, very important. And perhaps the highlight of it is that, in numerology 7, it is going to be extremely fated, but up to us. We will be the ones that will determine kind of what fated will mean and how it will play out. So it is going to be quite an intense year, which will be memorable just like 2020 and actually these last couple of years. So again, thank you so much. Wishing everyone a blessed Christmas and very, very happy New Year. Until next time and next year, bye for now.